I break a habit when the very habit is what keeps me from stopping the behavior?
Well, there are two parts, I think, to my answer. The first is there's an old saying in India that if you want to remove a thorn from your foot, you can use another thorn. And so that to say that if you're trying to break a useless habit, one of the primary ways of doing that is to replace it with a more useful habit. Habits don't imprison us. The restless mind imprisons us. And so even the word habit, H-A-B-I-T, requires a conjoining of those letters and syllables into that mantra for the mind to be able to make any kind of distinction whatsoever. So habits have no power. We give power to the habit, right? So habits that people are trying to break, and in direct answer to this question, it seems like this person may be having difficulty breaking a habit because there are times where people feel like my habit has control over me. Smokers, people who overeat, any number of things. But the issue is not, the habit has no power. Whatever you're calling habit has no power. It's the power that you give to it by way of your attachment to it. So attachment is the issue. And to examine how to break habits, we have to learn the methods that are powered by grace to be able to break attachment to useless routines, attachment to contracted ways of thinking that no longer serve us because we're now treading a spiritual path to go home. So it's the attachment that is the issue that causes the challenge to breaking a habit. It's being attached primarily to a restless mind. Who or what does the attaching? The mind. And the mind has great power because the mind is a contracted form of the same power that has brought this entire universe of all the worlds into being. And so the mind has a great deal of power. And if it's restless, then that restlessness of the mind creates attachment to whatever it is you're trying to break as a habit you're calling, that you're just used to. It's that the mind is used to it. The mind is attached to it. And so to break useless habits, the very first step is always the same, and that is to calm the restless mind, to have effective methods for making the mind quiet, making the mind silent, to turn the mind within, so that the mind loves recognizing and going to that ocean of joy, that ocean of grace, where there is also a great deal of power, the same power that causes the mind to come into existence, so that the mind can rest there. And then what happens is, as a result of that, the mind becomes sharper, there's more available energy. But as restlessness is addressed and destroyed, it becomes much easier to break useless habits, because part of the process of calming the restless mind is to break attachment to things that are no longer useful. The attachment is caused by way of the mind being absorbed in what you're attached to. In this case, the habit that you're trying to break. So the focus is to calm the restless mind, and then to begin to address breaking attachments to objects of sense, people, places, and things. And part and parcel to that process makes it much easier to discard useless habits and then to embrace habits, so to speak, that are more useful. All has to do with working with the mind and breaking attachments. But the challenge that this person is pointing to in the question has to do with attachments, being ruled by attachments, and that's because we give power to our attachments. Attachment is the issue, but attachment has no power in and of its own. Habits have no power of their own. We give power to them because we decide stubbornly, I'm going to remain attached to this. This is what I'm used to. I'm comfortable with it. And I don't care that it might be self-destructive. This is what I know. But that's due to attachment, which is had by force of a restless mind, and the way in which we choose to direct the mind. So by breaking attachment, it becomes very easy to destroy useless habits. When you understand that the attachment is the focus, and that's the restless mind, and of course the expression of the ego idea.